What's up, guys? My name is Jake Bartolin. For those of you that don't know, I'm the producer and the engineer for David Corson's new song, Streets of New England. What I wanted to do in this video today was kind of basically just go through some of the lesser known instruments that we added into the piece just to kind of spice things up and make things more interesting. And it's kind of more of the parts that we worked really hard on to make sound good, but aren't really as prevalent in the mix. Things that aren't standing out immediately. So the first thing I actually want to talk about is this cool little arpeggiated guitar that pops in around the pre-chorus here, at the beginning of the pre-chorus. We were actually in the process of tracking the song, and I was going to have David basically play the acoustic guitar part twice. What he actually suggested was basically do these cool little arpeggiations over that. So he suggested, instead of just playing this twice, put these little cool little like doodly diddly doddly sort of arpeggiations above it. And when you put those together, it sounds kind of like this. Kind of gets things to stack on top of each other. It gets the guitar doing some more interesting things without really getting too crazy on the stereo field side of things. I didn't want the guitar to be too wide and epic, for lack of a better term. The other thing that pops in at the exact same time as this arpeggiated guitar is the shakers, which took me forever to actually get sounding correct, because I don't know if anybody's tried it, but playing a shaker perfectly in time to a click track is actually way harder than it needs to be. But that shaker comes in at the pre-chorus at exactly the same time as this arpeggiated guitar. So it sounds like this in the song. So those shakers people might hear, they're not hidden in the mix, but they're kind of one of those things where unless you're a musician or you're looking for it, you might not notice it. So I just wanted to point those out because I spent way too long on those. Something that some people might notice is David's lead vocals, whenever they get to the chorus, they actually get tripled up. So it sounds like a mini choir of David's singing.
We were driving down the streets of New England, finally got nothing
as opposed to just one.
We were flying down the road to your house, and in that moment I finally knew.
And then for that last "with you," everything kind of collapses down, and we basically just have the one vocal there. So if you listen closely in the actual song,
deeper and deeper in love with you.
Just a subtle little thing to kind of get us to the next section of the song, which is where everything cuts out except this acoustic guitar, this like very rhythmically kind of driven acoustic guitar. Then we get to the verse, this next verse here, and this other part, of course, we've got like the bass and back to the arpeggiated guitar and everything. And even the harmonies are actually pretty kind of there. But this tambourine, honestly, I didn't even take that many takes of this tambourine. I think 5 takes total, and then I just robbed parts that I needed from other parts that I had already taken. When you're like standing there and you're like smacking your palm for a good 20 minutes, half hour, I'm not used to playing the tambourine. My hand was not ready for that, and that actually kind of started to hurt. I'm not gonna lie. The same repetitive motion over and over again kind of got old. So these tambourines didn't actually take that long to track, but it feels like it took an eternity. And like they're really not loud. Like if I play this verse, you'll barely hear them even after I've pointed them out. One of those things where by the time everything kind of finally got mixed, I had to ask if it was really worth it to do the tambourine. It's just another thing to really give that kind of slight difference between the second verse and the first verse, where the first verse is really just one track of vocals, an acoustic guitar, a bass, and that steady kick.
Slowly in my ear.
Versus when you compare that to the second verse.
Sunday morning, rain is pouring.
There's just like something about it that feels a little bit more progressed, and it just feels a little bit like there's more going on there. And a lot of that is like the small tiny details that add up to a lot, like the tambourine or the harmonies that pop in, those ooh 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 oohs.
In my car, turn it loud.
And then we get to the second chorus where we bring back the shakers, but now we've got a different pattern in the tambourine. We've also got snare, I think, here. This is the first time in the song we hear the snare drum.
We were driving down.
Yep, this is the first time. Yeah, that was a weird delay. This is the first time in the song we hear a snare, which is a little bit special. The snare actually doesn't come in until about halfway through the song, which is kind of rare for like a pop tune. Normally the snare is the thing that kind of brings energy to it. For a song that is as driving as it is, I think it's pretty cool that it doesn't really come in until later in the tune. Again, we got those doubled up vocals here. We've just got some harmonies at the back end of that chorus.
It's falling deeper and deeper in love. It's falling deeper and deeper.
I really kind of sung those kind of harsh. I wish I wouldn't have done that so bad, but I mean, they're buried in the back, so it's not that big of a deal, but still. Looking at this lead guitar part, which doesn't really sound like a guitar part when you listen to it in the song, I mixed this more kind of like a kalimba or like a, not a synth, but like kind of like a synth, I guess. Like more like a piano, I guess you would say, where it's just this very kind of simple like quarter note, dotted quarter note sort of pattern, and there's not really a lot going on with it. The thing that's special about this lead guitar part is sort of the effect that we created with it. I had this one thin lead guitar part that I had recorded, right? Which sounded okay, but in the mix, it was kind of like lame to listen to. Not that it sounded bad, it just didn't sound great. David actually suggested to take that part, copy it, and then just put it up an octave. I used a program called Melodyne for that, which was super handy because you basically just go in, it maps where all the notes are, and then you just select all the notes and you just raise them to whatever you just move them to wherever they need to go, and everything's good. And so when you combine this with this, which is the pitched up version of the previous one, then you end up with this kind of beefier tone that still kind of sits high and floats above everything else. And then it just kind of really punches through everything. I might be going way too big into this lead guitar part. It's not really that special, but it sounds cool. Funny story about these oohs. This project has been on our backboard for even before COVID. That's how long the song has been in progress. These oohs, I actually did when I was sick as a dog. Gabe was going to come over, but I was like, no, I'm sick, but I want to get these oohs done. So I took some Tylenol. I was feeling a little bit better. I busted out these oohs. I proceeded to realize how sick I was and just went to bed. A couple days later, I came back and I was like, wow, these actually sound, for the most part, they sound pretty solid for being sick as a dog. So I'm pretty proud of myself for how those sound, all things considered. Last thing I want to point out is this piano here, which honestly, like, is very buried in the mix. It's pretty far down there when you kind of listen to it in the context of everything.
We were driving down the streets of New England, finally got nothing to lose.
If I isolate it, it's like definitely not what you were expecting. Like there's almost always an instrument, at least when I'm mixing something. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the way I mix things, but there's always an instrument that I just end up using as like middle goodness to just fill in the song. So for example, if you listen to this, right, and you hear the song.
We were driving down the streets of New England, finally got nothing to lose. We were flying down the road.
I don't know about you guys, and the YouTube/Instagram compression might really make this pointless, and you guys might just think I'm crazy, but I definitely hear a difference there. I can't put my finger on exactly what it is. If I was just going by my ears alone. I mean, obviously I know it's the piano's gone. It just doesn't sound quite as full. It's like background characters in a movie that's shot in a city. If you ask people, oh, what characters were on screen, nobody's going to tell you about the people that were in the street as background characters. But as soon as you take those characters out, things look different. Something's wrong. You know, this city is abandoned. It's not a city. That's what I feel like this piano part ended up being, at least for this song. It was more like the background characters of a movie where, you know, if I were to take it out, I notice a difference, and I'm pretty sure that the Instagram compression is just gonna make me sound like a crazy person. But that pretty much does it for this song. David Corson, Streets of New England. It's out now, streaming everywhere. If you guys like the song, check it out. If you already know of the song, go listen to it more because it's a really good song. And I hope you guys like the video.